Buongiorno. Do they say buongiorno in Sardinia? You know, Sardinia is like, it's Italy, but it's kind of like half Italy. You know, there's this confluence of influences on an island like Sardinia. I mean, the Spanish were there. I'm sure, you know, other people have kind of rolled by and, you know, dropped a little culture on Sardinia over the centuries as they kind of cruise through to ransack another country or take something over or blow something else up. So, you know, when we talk about Sardinia as a place, to me, it's quite different from Italy. The wines are different. The people are a little different. The vibe is different. It's Sardinia as opposed to Italia. And that makes for really characterful, distinctive wines when they're done correctly, when they're done with heart and soul and emotion behind it, but vinified correctly. And that's what we have here from Agricola Punica. This is a wine called Barrua, and it is made by an all-star list of folks. Okay, let's start with, you got Giacomo Takis, right, the guy that kind of like helped create Tignanello and kind of create the concept of the Super Tuscan. You have Sebastiano Rosa, who's a fabulous winemaker in his own right. You got the gang at Sassicaia providing money for this operation. And Sassicaia, you know about Sassicaia, Italy, you know, one of the greatest red wines produced in Italy. So all those guys got together with a really great winery in Sardinia by the name of Santari. And all these guys grouped their resources and sat down around a table and had a couple beers and figured out, how can we make Sardinia's greatest wine? And you know what? In the span of like 2-3 years, they did it because they're good, right? So this is Barrua. And Barrua, to me, right now, if I had to go out on a limb and say what is Sardinia's greatest wine, it's Barrua. This is it's a blend, okay, but it's centered on the Carignano grape, which, you know, we know here in America as Carignan, and also what's known as in Spain as Carignana or Samso. Now, the Carignan grape is kind of finicky. It likes older vines. It likes being older. It likes to throw a big crop, so you have to hack it back a bit. When you have older vines and you have low yields with Carignan, you can make just profound wines. I mean, just ask the cats in the Priorat area in Spain. A lot of those wines are Carignan based. And Carignan gives a deep, full, rich wine, especially from these Sardinian soils and from the weather, the climate, the terroir of Sardinia. As the winds come in, almost like these Scirocco-esque winds come in from Africa, dry everything out and create these kind of very warm, inviting conditions to grow grapes in. So you get this huge mouthful from this old line Carignan, which makes up about 85% of the blend. And then the wine is fleshed out, I believe, with Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. Because you got Takis, you got Rosa. I mean, these guys are Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot guys. They kind of know what to do with it. And that kind of puts some breeding and pedigree into this wine. Because, you know, some of the knock with some of the Sardinian red wines before is there was a rusticity to them, a chunkiness, a coarseness to them. And with Barrua, you get that richness that you would get allied with the rusticity in a more normal vinification style. But here, it's kind of creamed out. We got some French barrels. We got a little, you know, kind of Lamborghini, Ferrari juju happening here. So you got that intensity allied with a finesse and polish that these experienced winemakers can provide. 2009, outstanding vintage in Sardinia. Not too many bad vintages in Sardinia. Sun always shining, wind always coming, that sort of deal. But the key here is the price. Because, you know, what would you pay for Sardinia's greatest red wine? What would you pay? Well, you know, usually it's about 60 bucks. About 60 bucks. But for a limited time, we can roll the Barrua out there for around 30 bucks. Crazy, crazy. To have one of the greatest drinking experiences in Italy for 30 bucks is insane. And believe me, I had this wine on the table next to wines like Sassicaia, and I'll tell you what, I kept jumping back to this wine just because it was so friggin' full of character. So there you go, Barrua, Sardinia's greatest red wine, available for almost like entry-level Napa Valley Cabernet pricing. So get yourself some. It's cool.